Good morning. This is Mark Schmidt, and we have Andrew Schappert representing the Education Committee. And today we're putting together a video regarding metadata and the importance of doing metadata. So, Andrew, if you want to take it away.
All right. So let's get started. All right. Just before we start, the important thing to start with this is setting down some ground rules. This is going to be specifically US centric. There are rules for everywhere else in the world. We are in Kansas, so we're focusing mainly on Kansas, largely in North America as well. A lot of this is based on my own subjective experience. Feel free to, if you disagree, go for it. Use your own experiences if it works better. That's the point of all of of this series. And finally, and most importantly, this is not a tutorial on how to do metadata. You should know how to do your job. This is just some advice on how do I say, make things run more smoothly. So let's get into it. Okay, so starting out, what is metadata? Why do we care? Why is it important? And we'll eventually at some point we'll be going over the scopes, limits, all sorts of stuff. So what is metadata? The tour guide answer is it's data about data. That's the answer you're going to get from a lot of people. That answer is entirely unhelpful. It answers no questions, but it does answer the question at hand. But but so what is metadata? As I say here, it's information about the data that helps you place it logically, temporally, and spatially within both your specialization and most importantly, within real life and reality. It's I have a background in museum curation, which I'm funneling heavily into this. This is more or less digital archiving. It is the the filing cabinet in which you put your information that about your information. This is writing down the institutional knowledge. This is very useful because you will eventually leave this position for better pastures or for why? Why does this matter? So this is metadata helps you pick the right information for the right job, which helps. Time. You don't want to use data that's outdated. That gets you in trouble. You want to worry about scope, completion. You don't want to use information from organizations that are out of scope. Like you don't want to use if you use Department of Transit information, you generally assume that their scope is entirely highways, interstates, stuff like that. Other than that, it's a bit out of scope. Or information from, say, Shawnee County, you wouldn't expect to be entirely up to date on outside of the county, stuff that they're not generally updating, cultivating. Generally, you want to go to the right people for the right job. Also, um, you how often do you work with information and you realize it's not complete? You, that's life. You generally don't have to work. You sometimes don't complete the project you're working on because either it gets outdated, you move on, somebody moves on, or there's just a hole in the data from the collector and you need $3 million to fix it, and good luck raising that. That needs to be written down in your metadata. That needs to be written down somewhere because somebody's going to pick this up someday and not realize there's a hole in it. And that works both ways. Yeah. Why does it matter? Metadata also is supposed to keep track of accuracy, consistency, and logicality. I don't need to explain those. You should be writing those down. And just as a whole, knowing what's going on never makes things worse. As they say, not no, knowledge is half the battle. The other half is the battle. Okay, so generally speaking, there are two standards for North America. This is pretty much been the case. These are regulated by, I think, by the federal government. The first one, generally, you come across everything in North America needs to be compliant with this. The CSDGM. Most people have heard of it. Most people should have heard of it. The thing is, it hasn't been updated, last I heard, since '98. So it is generally not the most up to date. The federal stuff must be compliant with it in theory. I say in theory because should and are, as I am off to say, are not the same word. You get a lot of, it is only as compliant as the people are willing to put into it. So don't be entirely surprised if you encounter data that doesn't have incomplete metadata. It is there's been a movement with the International Standards Organization to for metadata. For that's the NAP, the Nat Profile 19115. That's mostly what most places are going to be working with. So expect this. And it's especially more common the further north you go, considering it is joint US and Canada. But most places will be having this, and don't be surprised if you run into data shifting from CSDGM specifically to NAP. So which should you choose? Honestly, it doesn't matter. Just pick one, or if you were to have one, if you have one that you like better, say you like the European model for some reason, use it. Just having one in place is the most important thing you can do. That sounds wishy-washy or counterintuitive from everything I said, but even a bad solution or a solution that fixes half your problems is better than no solution that fixes none of your problems. Just and if you, most places should have a metadata standard in place, templates included. We'll go over templates later. You should, if when you start creating metadata, if you start creating metadata, specifically use the template, the organization you have in place, even if you think it's crap and you don't like it, because I'll go over why in a second, but do not move templates, move anything unless you're willing to do the entire job. Because if you don't, that when somebody comes in next, instead of having one standard, if you do it incomplete, you'll wander off. You'll find something else to do you'd rather be doing. And the next person coming in will find that you have two standards in place instead of just one. And that's a nightmare. Which was the next part. If you have multiple methods coming in, congratulations. You're like most museums out there. Just pick the one you like the best. Pick the one that you find works the best. Do not add more methods. If you think, yes, there are 14, it's like the old XKCD comic. You realize, yes, there are 14 terrible standards. I'm going to make one that's better than everything else. Congratulations, there are now 15 competing standards. Just pick one, please. You're just going to make it worse. Unless you're one of those people who can buckle down and do it and get everything transitioned. But more often than not, it's not going to happen. Not Yeah, moving forward. To quote a quote that I got from one of my college textbooks that I think was fairly apt here. Dr. Price mentions preparing complete metadata that complies with a standard is a daunting task. However, even partial metadata is better than none. Getting in the date you worked on it, getting in just who worked on it, getting in just where you got it, getting in whatever is better than not having anything. If you don't know, write in unknown in every field. It's better than leaving it blank. If just anything is better than nothing, because especially the unknowns, because the next person who gets it will say a blank in a fresh set of eyes means they didn't fill this out, not they didn't have that information. And that's the important thing. So what can you include in metadata? What should you include? Yes, write everything down. This is the ideal. You most likely will not reach this point. But if you can do it, if you can and feel the time to fill in the information, do it. Just put it in. Even if it's like for one thing, like update a template, do something. Just one thing. Just 1,000 small things at once over time is 1,000 changes. It adds up. Like, even if it's, anything, the age of the data, when it was included, when it was last edited, what was the last edited with? Just who, what, where, when, why. Just do it. Okay, shifting gears here from my little rant. Why does the age of the data matter? A lot of the older people among you will remember that a program beyond a certain age does not have the ability to snap. That was added, I think, 2010-ish. Feel free to yell at me later. So any data that hasn't been updated before that point, expect there to be dangles and gaps on every single point, line, polygon, and what have you. So that needs to be mentioned, or you're going to find a lot of angry people who have to go in later and not realize that there are issues and are going to have to spend months fixing it without realizing it. And this may not be caught for years. Yeah, don't need to read that second bit. The important thing that I thought, specifically the third point, is when I was going, like, knowing who originally created the data, knowing who edited it later, will give you ideas, even if that's the only information you know. Knowing that at some point this was edited by State Highway, expect that there will have been changes done, there will have been tightening up changes, what have you, to the interstate. Public Works doing editing. You will expect that there might be, drainage, just stuff and just stuff like that. Just so if that makes sense. The data limits, yeah. You can use a screwdriver as a hammer. Doesn't mean you should. As I say there, most data can be used for every purpose. Most data should not be used for every, yeah, most data, not all data should be used for every purpose. Most data can be used for every purpose. In the same way, as I just said, a screwdriver can be used as a hammer. You can use things in a way that they were not designed for. Knowing when data is too high scale, we all know the thing of you're using data, too detailed data. It'll take 5 minutes to load, and that's a waste of your time. Knowing when a data is too low scale, well, 30 meters is good for a well 30 meters is good for a satellite image. 30 minutes is not good for, troop deployments. That'll get you, I'm pausing this. Yeah. So knowing the scale at which it is allows you to specifically use the data in its proper point with the proper accuracy. It'll also, well, sometimes with data collection as well, there are areas that just won't get collected. It happens. You do with what you can with what you got, but you got to write down where the holes are. There might be data missing because you're updating neighborhoods and a new one got in, but you didn't have data for it. You need to write that down because the next person who gets it will love to know that there's no data here because they didn't get it, as opposed to for some reason it got blanked. It helps other people in the future. Just like how you would have liked to know if you got it from someone in the past. Templates. Finally, we come to templates. Yes, you do want to use these. Set them up. XML files. These are your friend. These will help you save time. Yeah, organization, project, and data set. Just those are the three ones. Everyone, you remember. You obviously remember them from your intro class. You get them set up. This because at some point there's going to be certain people who do it for who edit certain things for the entire project, and keeping them in mind will make your life significantly easier. Um, just yeah, XML is your friend. Button. So in conclusion, again, this is metadata is if comparing to cars and comparing to cars, this entire okay, comparing GIS to like automobiles and whatnot, metadata is the car insurance of it all. You're going to the moment you need to worry about it, something has gone terribly, terribly wrong, but you're going to be glad you have it. And this is just, as I mentioned here, just good housekeeping, keeping on top of it. The old adage of you can tell a lot about a person by the stuff they don't care about. Just keep up on it. And it's useful. It is exceptionally useful to have, and it looks good on you moving forward. Is it important? Day by day, you don't need it. If you have a massive other fires you need to put out, this is low man on the totem pole. This you can put off. It sounds again a little dichotomous from what I have been saying, but well, this is a good to have, not a need. But if you're going to do it, you should do it right. And if I have to sum up any of this, anything at all, just do it. Just do it. It'll make your life easier. Or don't do it. Live your best life. We're good. Signing.